had a stable life, me and my husband. We were married. We had our family. We owned our house. We had cars. I was in the university finishing my last year in college. My husband had a well-paid job. He was a supervisor at a dental lab. And then one day out of nowhere, one of the relatives of my husband, that she didn't like me, she went to my house to argue about nonsense, and she just, out of nowhere, she just cursed me. She told me that she wasn't going to be satisfied till the day she saw me in a mental hospital. And those words came into me, but I tried to ignore them. But after a couple of weeks, out of nowhere, I just started getting panic attacks. It was constantly that I was living like for 5 years with panic attacks 24/7. It was a torment for me. My husband had to take care of me. He had to feed me. He had to do everything because I didn't have strength. After having all this medication inside of me, I didn't have the strength to get up out of bed. So after a while for my husband taking care of me, he decided to start drinking. He started getting depressed, and I couldn't provide for him. I couldn't feed him. I couldn't do anything. So he started talking to another co-worker, and he cheated on me. So I found that out, and we separated. And after a while that I couldn't pay for the house, I decided to come out of my house and live in my car. Most of the time I was in my car because I was so depressed. I didn't want to be a bother to anybody. I just felt humiliated because for me, having everything to not having nothing was very, very sad to me. It was depressing, and I just started getting more depressed. I couldn't take care of myself. Everything just was destroyed. My whole life, my family, my economical life, my health. The lowest point was me living out of my car and not providing anything for my daughters at that point. During my worst times, I would go and consult the witch doctors. When they would ask me for $300, $800, $2,000 to go, when they would promise me, your life is gonna change, we're gonna take away the panic attacks, your husband's gonna return to you, and I would go and give that money. I would do everything the witch doctors would tell me. I came to church at the end of November. Everything that the pastors would be talking, I would obey. God spoke to me. It was the time that I had to go pick up the rent from my house, the house that I was renting out for a family, because my dream was one day I was gonna return back to that house with my girls. I grabbed that money and I went straight. I remember it was a Thursday evening. I went straight to the altar and I said, God, you're asking for this, I'm gonna put it here. So from that day on, everything started changing, no more anxiety. Everything was just, my daughter's coming to church, and my husband had already came back with me, with my family. But there was still something missing inside, and that was the Holy Spirit. I started, putting that as my first priority, to seek the Holy Spirit, that I needed the Holy Spirit to be complete. And that's where I started doing my fastings. I started praying, and in the middle of the night, I wanted the Holy Spirit. So that's where I became complete when I received the Holy Spirit. I remember it was in a visual where I was baptized with the Holy Spirit, and that's where my whole entire life had just transformed. Receiving the Holy Spirit was something very amazing. Today, my life is transformed. My marriage became restored. I don't have those spiritual attacks that I was receiving, those panic attacks. I'm not depressed. My whole family's in church. We didn't lose a house. We actually returned back to our house to live in. Now, everything, God transformed my whole entire life.